Ray, you and I both know most businesses just pick a number out of the air and say, let's grow to that number. But there's no rationale behind it. There's no why behind it. And that's where a lot of the unnecessary suffering comes from trying to grow a business is there's not clarity in the goals. What matters most? Why does that matter most to us? And now let's actually come up with a plan to get there. And as simple as that sounds, it's a very disruptive principle for most businesses because they don't do that.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
On this week's episode of the Marketing Expedition Podcast, I get to speak with Jacob Baadsgaard, and Jake is the founder and CEO of Disruptive Advertising. An entrepreneur at heart, Jake is a relationship-first kind of guy that loves learning from other people's life's experiences. He's actively worked to create an environment where people feel seen, heard, and challenged to take that next big step on their life's journey. When he's not juggling his many roles within Disruptive, you'll find him putting in a lot of miles on his bike or running and spending time with his wife, Teresa, and their 4 children. We're going to talk all about marketing and business and EOS and connecting all kinds of fun things and stories about how he has helped his clients and how he got started and things he doesn't want to do and doesn't like to do and things that he does like to do and all the things. So stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss this episode with Jacob. But first, it's time for our Marketing Essentials moment, the basics that you need to continue to help you build your brand and your bottom line. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about how joining online communities can help you build your brand and your bottom line through sharing and showing value that you can offer to the people of the groups that you join or the communities that you join. So think about things like LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups or on Reddit or other places that people go to seek out information. Quora is another one. If you can offer up your expertise and your knowledge and give examples or samples of something or advice that you can give, it puts you in a place of being a thought leader in your industry. And sometimes that can turn into opportunities for you. Now, something to consider, because a lot of people will try to market to you and want to do business. I saw that we're in the same, LinkedIn group together and wanted to connect, and then they want to sell you something. It's not all about just sell. It's about adding the value that you can give when people pose a question or they have information that they're seeking, and then you can respond with your experience. And try not to be responding in a way that will degrade them or put them down in any way, but offer your advice or my recommendation or my suggestion would be, or I have done this before and here's why it worked or what happened because of that. And it'll help you to build that genuine reputation and form those solid connections with people that are relevant to your work. So finding where your target audience is and being in those community spaces can really help you to grow your brand and your expertise. And then maybe down the road, they'll want to work with you because you've given them something of value that they needed in order to solve a problem that they may have. So if you're there to help be a problem solver, now I'm not saying you have to give away the farm. You don't have to give everything away, but just give them enough to recognize so that they can recognize that you have some expertise in what it is that they need. And so you can turn that into an opportunity. All right, now let's get into the interview. Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest is Jake Baadsgaard. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Ray, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I love to just share a little bit more. I know we've got your bio and all that, but just give us a brief background kind of on how you got to where you are and what you do now.
Yeah. Sometimes it's actually a fun exercise. If I went back 10 years ago and had a conversation with myself to say, here's how the journey is going to play out, like it would almost be hard to believe. And As an entrepreneur, there's this part of me that believed it would be 10 times bigger than it currently is. And then there's this other part of me that never expected it to go anywhere.
Yep, I can
And
relate to that.
yeah, and but what I do know and what I've really appreciated about that journey is it's the fact that we don't know how it's all going to play out is actually what's made the journey so enjoyable and with so many opportunities to learn and grow as a human being as well as a professional as well. And so um, as far as my disruptive journey is concerned, I'm 10 years into this now, and I feel like it's taught me how to be a better husband, how to be a better father, how to be a better listener. Those are things that I did not expect that would be skills that would be required to grow the agency from myself as a freelancer in my basement to a $25 million agency with over 100 employees. Like, I didn't expect that to be the case. And so it's definitely been a wild ride to get there. And I didn't realize how much of that would be dependent on my personal growth to have the capacity to work through those things.
Right. To be able to scale and grow and be a part of it. That's pretty amazing for sure.
Yeah.
Huh? So I have to first tell you, part of our mantra is to disrupt, connect, and inspire. So I love that disruptive advertising is what you do. So let's just share a little bit more about what that means to those that are listening that are like, well, what is disruptive advertising? I mean, we can have a guess, but in your words, like, what does it mean to be disruptive in advertising?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you two definitions because that's evolved over time. I've always loved the concept of disruptive. And what that meant in the very early stages of the business, and still holds true today, is that you don't have to outspend your competition from a performance marketing standpoint. You can outsmart them by spending less, but more effectively. And my background was actually as an web analytics consultant for years, where I would integrate ERPs and CRMs to marketing data to really help them spend their dollars super effectively. So that was where the disruptive concept came from. What I've realized that's even more impactful than just having great data and spending more efficiently than your competition is actually having clarity on what your goals are, why those are your goals, challenging why those might be your goals. Are they actually aligned? Is that really what we want to do? And then aligning a marketing strategy to get there. Because, Ray, you and I both know most businesses just pick a number out of the air and say, let's grow to that number. But there's no rationale behind it. There's no why behind it. And that's where a lot of the unnecessary suffering comes from trying to grow a business, is there's not clarity in the goals. What matters most? Why does that matter most to us? And now let's actually come up with a plan to get there. And as simple as that sounds, it's a very disruptive principle for most businesses because they don't do that.
Right. It's against the norm. It's not what has always worked before. So why should we change? Right.
Yeah. And so, like, some of my favorite questions to ask businesses or the leaders in those businesses actually kind of take a step back and say, give me an example of a client or a customer that embodies why you're passionate about the brand. What value did they get from your product or service? Talk to me about that customer. And then I'll ask them a follow-up question is, talk to me about someone that works at the company that you're proud of the opportunities that that's created for that employee and the organization as well. And when they say, this is how it, like, for the right customers and clients, how this just adds so much value to their life. And here's like the experience that some of our employees have that can be transformational. And then when I ask the question, how does that relate to the goals that you said you want to accomplish? And most of them were like, I've never even thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. I've never even thought about it that way. And I'm like, well, why would we want to go for a goal that doesn't get you more customers like you just described and more employee experiences like you just described? Would we even want to get to that destination?
Right.
if it meant your customers were getting less value and your employees were getting less value as well. And the answer is everyone's like, whoa, let's take a step back and decide what we really want to do here.
Oh, that's good. And going through that process really helps with the storytelling that they share. And that storytelling can be very powerful, right?
Absolutely. That's the funnest part of marketing.
Yeah.
Because not only are you helping align goals and a marketing strategy, you're getting all the ammo that you need for talent recruiting and for prospective customer marketing as well. When you hear those stories that the founders or the leadership team are proud of and how they show up and how they have served their customers and their employees, that's where all the marketing gold exists. And then you just get to put it into fun campaigns to help other people see that that could be something they could have as well.
Absolutely. And that's what has helped you become successful in being able to pull those stories and all of those goals out of them and get them to where they need to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that's the funnest part of what I do. I'll tell you what the opposite of that is. And I have probably more experience with this, Ray, than what I just described. It's they ask for something and I or my team says yes, whether it makes sense or not. And then we go and execute. And then we wonder why it feels hard and not fun. And that our client or ourselves are never quite satisfied with the results that we're getting from that. And as a marketer, I actually think we need to experience that so that we can appreciate, whoa, when we really do connect to the why behind this business, we can show up with the right goals, the right strategy, and the right messaging and story to tell, which is so fun. But sometimes you got to go down the path of, okay, we've got some passionate and opinionated people that think they know what they want. And if we just keep giving them what they think they want and don't show up as a strategic partner for them, no one's happy and no one's getting what they want out of the relationship. And I have plenty of experience doing that as well.
I always say my favorite thing when we're working in the healthcare industry, just because you have MD after your name does not mean that you are a marketing director. Yep. You're really smart at diagnosing and, caring for people. Let us do our job and let our MD stand for what it's supposed to mean. But you're right. You're right. The type A personalities, right? And getting them on a path to that journey to understanding, no, really, this is what we need to do. I promise you, trust us. We've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
So what are some of the, maybe speaking of storytelling, some stories that you've had that you've helped your clients go through this transformational journey with you that really did resonate, that really did work for them, that did get them the ideal clients that they wanted and happiness for their employees? Share, if you wouldn't mind, maybe, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but just share maybe a client success story that you've had, Jacob.
Yeah. Which one to pull from is always the question. We'll see how this goes, but it might be good to maybe even share an example of where it worked well.
Yeah.
And then maybe even an example of where it did not.
I like that idea. Go ahead. Yeah.
And so what I can tell you is my first client, the one that actually got this all kickstarted 10 years ago, was a tech support company. And there was a couple of things that we realized that really ended up becoming transformational for this business. The first one was the first definition of disruptive, which was I can actually connect your custom CRM that you've built in-house with Google Ads, and we can see in a lead generation model which leads are actually converting into revenue so that we can spend more money on the leads that are converting into revenue and stop spending money on the ones that don't. And without getting into all of the details, we connected those dots and we were able to see with clarity where their marketing dollars were actually producing for them. And so we were able to make those changes in their marketing campaigns. And then it was a game changer. They went from like a 25-person company that I had worked at in college, and that, one of your first clients is someone that you already know in your network, right? Yep. And they grew to like 250 employees because we figured out what no one else in the industry had figured out in terms of where to effectively spend their marketing dollars. And it was so cool to be a part of that growth cycle where they're going from a very small business to a pretty sizable organization and growing at a very rapid rate and kind of setting the trend in that industry. Well, then what happened is they came to me and they said, hey, we don't want to be the break. You have something broken and we fix it tech support company anymore. We actually want to be their tech coach, and we want to change our brand, and we want to hey, anytime you've got an issue with something technology in your household, you're just going to give us a call and we're just going to be a warm blanket for you. And I said, oh, I love that vision that you have for that, but no one's looking for that. That's not a pain point that people have. What actually happens in real life is people have a specific pain point, and then they need someone to fix that pain point for them. And when you show up and you develop trust, which is character, competency, and results, then all of a sudden they're actually open to, well, this was such a great experience working with you. Let's actually sign up for an ongoing service where you make sure I'm backed up, protected, do all of those things. But it's more of an upsell opportunity rather than a leading with that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, we want to lead with that moving forward. And I said, but no one's looking for that. And so that's going to be really hard, and it would take a lot of money to develop that. And I said, honestly, I actually don't think it's going to work. And I think it works great as an upsell. I think it doesn't work this other way. So they went all in on that strategy. And I told them, I said, I actually don't believe in this strategy. I don't think it's going to work. And it didn't. And the business went into decline ever since they did that. And I think that that's more of a success story that also followed up with, and the business isn't even in operation today as a result of that. And it was interesting to just see that cycle that existed. And what I found interesting about that is they made it more about who they wanted to be than adding the value that their customers needed from them. And it was just interesting to see the rise and the fall of that business model and going through that. So a success and a failure right in there for you.
Oh, that's good. I think that's a great way to be able to, for you to build the trust with them to say, here's what I really think you should do, not necessarily, or what you could do. I mean, no, don't should on me, right? People don't like to be told that they should do this, but I get it. But then you've established this rapport with them to say, here's what you could do in order to transform this even in a better way. And I like that story a lot because it does resonate when people think that they know what they want without actually understanding why they want it. And so this is a great, do you have any more? Do you have more examples? Jacob, I like this. This is kind of fun. Let's hear some more.
Ray, you're a marketer.
Yeah.
And you've worked with enough businesses at this point. It is the worst career when you show up doing marketing for something that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it's going to work, if you don't believe in the product, if you don't believe in the service and the impact that it's actually going to have on people, being a marketer is like the worst job in the world because it feels dishonest. Mm-hmm. It feels like operating out of alignment to like just being authentic and aligned with who we are. But on the flip side, as a marketer, when we are aligned to the goals, to the outcomes, to the product, to the impact that has, being a marketer is the best job in the world because then we get behind the people, the products, and the services that we truly believe in, and we bring them a voice to expand their reach, and to have more impact in the world. And like, what's better than that to show up and work on every day? And so that's where I would just say, like, as I've reflected on, because I'm in more of a founder role for the agency at this point and not as involved in the day-to-day. But that's when it feels like transformational being a marketer, and that I can help bring a voice to a brand, a product, a service, and the people that I believe in. It's like, there's nothing better than being a marketer. And I feel like it's awesome. But when we don't, having the courage to say, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in the direction. And so I'm going to do my best to find alignment with this. But if I can't find that alignment, I'm not doing anyone any favors by showing up and just going through the motions. In fact, I'm probably doing more harm than good as a marketer at that point.
Well, yeah, if you don't believe in what you're doing, then the best work isn't going to come through, not from you, not from your people, not from their people, from your client too. I mean, it does show if you don't believe in what they're wanting you to do, and not becoming order takers, right? Not just being there as an order taker and following exactly what they tell you to do, because that's not always the right decision. They're not always the right target. Sometimes our clients are not their own target audience, but they think like what they want is what they think is going to be what will resonate with their target. So you have to separate them from that, right? Have them empathize with their client. And I think that's a great example for sure. And now a word about one of our sponsors, Strike Tax Advisory. Based in the rising tech mecca of Boise, Idaho, Strike Tax Advisory is leading the way in an $18 billion plus tax incentive market. Strike's in-house R&D and employee retention tax experts discover unclaimed government credits available to businesses.
It's a lot of money, people. You may qualify to get R&D tax credits, and of course, bringing awareness to clients that their industry innovation efforts could make them eligible to receiving these credits. Strike is helping small and large businesses reinvest this assistance back into the business to continue in growing. Go to peppershock.com/offers to get your R&D tax credit eligibility possibility found out now. Go to peppershock.com/offers and select the link to Strike Tax Advisory.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about you being in the founder role and now, not necessarily being involved in day-to-day, because I think that there's a lot of people in our audience who are striving to get to that point, right? They've been in business for a while. They want to, maybe get to where they don't have to work in the business so much that maybe they can work on the business and hire the right people. I mean, kind of talk about that journey. What got you to that point where you felt like you could let it go, let control go, and get you to that point? What would you say to somebody that's kind of in that moment that's trying to get there? And now that you're there, you can use that as an example and kind of maybe some of the steps that you took. And I kind of like your way of what not to do and what to do.
Oh, man. And if we're being honest, I have a lot longer list on the don't do this than I do on the do this. And I also haven't figured this out fully. This is a fairly new part of my journey with Disruptive as well.
Right.
So I'll share what I've learned and my experience on that. And the first thing is there is a book called Traction.
Mm-hmm.
And
EOS.
And EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a framework to run the business by. And, if I could go back to myself 10 years ago, I'd say, read this book and look for your counterpart sooner rather than later. Because I actually went more of a solopreneur route, which comes with its trade-offs. I've had some minority owners in the business along the way, but I've always been the primary owner and still am today as well. Mm-hmm. And there's trade-offs that come with that. But in the EOS model, it talks about two types of people that you need to be successful. One is more of the visionary, which is going to be, what you typically think is more of your brand ambassador, ideas for strategy, lots of exciting things to chase and go after and those types of things. And kind of more of your prototypical entrepreneur. And I absolutely fit that mold very well.
That's my role as well.
Yeah. And then the second one is the integrator, which is going to be making sure that the day-to-day business runs incredibly well and that we deliver on that brand promise, that we're executing well, that the trains leave on time and get a lot of satisfaction over a well-run organization. And so what I did is I'm a high energy person. I've got a lot of grit and a lot of just make it happen in me. And so just kind of through brute force for the first while of a business, tried to fill both of those roles. And part of me enjoyed that. But when I'm the happiest, I'm bigger picture. I'm talking to clients. I'm talking bigger picture strategy. I'm kind of setting the vision and helping us go where we want to go. But if I don't have a counterpart that says, I love all these ideas, Jake, let's make sure we prioritize the right ones and that we actually have a plan to execute them. And you don't even have to execute all of it. I can work with the team to make sure it's all executed. Okay. But I'm gonna make sure that we're actually prioritizing the right things. And so we've been adopting and implementing that model for the last 2 years. It's been incredibly helpful. And then I hired a president 2 years ago that's actually transitioned and now is in the CEO role and running the day-to-day business. And it took some time for us to get on the same page and felt kind of awkward of co-leading the company and who's really the boss here. And I have such a big personality and I'm so persuasive that when I'm in the room, the team was starting to have a hard time owning the strategy, moving things forward because they saw it as the right thing to do versus, well, what would Jake want me to do here? And kind of always looking to like, do I approve? Is this going to make me happy? And it was starting to hold them back. And it was starting to hold me back when I was involved at that level of detail in the business as well. And so now when I get to spend time having great conversations with people like you, Ray, being more of I consider myself the mascot for the business to attract top talent and top clients, then it frees me up to really focus on the part that lights me up and that I'm best at anyway. And so I think things play out the way they do for a reason. And the moment that we're ready for it, the opportunities actually find us. And so it took me 10 years to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm just slower than the average bear at figuring those things out,
Oh
but
no,
it
I've been
was
doing it for
a
20.
process
So
and a
you're
journey.
you're you're there. You're good. You're doing good.
Yeah.
No, and it's true. I think that there is something to be said about that letting go. In fact, my staff got me the Frozen doll, the Let It Go, right? I mean,
Oh, nice.
like a squirrel because you're squirreling. Don't, what is it? The cow, it's like a sacred cow. They have different things that, you can throw at the meeting, like, okay, don't beat a dead horse, these types of things. Yeah, no, they actually have a Frozen doll for me. Let it go, let it go. But it's true. I
That's
think
awesome.
if you can train your people and get them to where they can do things without saying, what would Ray or what would Jake do, getting past that and giving them the freedom to do it. And they may not do it the way we would do it, right? Right. And as long as they get the results, that's what matters the most. And it's definitely a journey to go through that process because it's you started the company, right? And it's your baby, and now you have to like release control and give other people the opportunity to be able to do what they can do best if you give them that opportunity, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's, when I look back at, well, how did I figure it out? Well, because I did my best. Plenty worked, plenty didn't. And then I learned, and then I moved forward. And uh, it can be challenging when letting go of like, oh, I can see how that won't work. Let me help you not experience that not working. When
Right.
that's actually the very thing that will help them to learn and grow and move forward. And that's challenging. It is challenging to let go of that, and something that's still a practice, not a perfect for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I can certainly relate with everything that you are saying for sure. That's awesome. I'm glad that there are other people in the world experiencing the same thing. Well, speaking of other resources and things that, I mean, EOS and Traction is great, but what are maybe some other like books or podcasts or resources that have helped you along the way, and whether they're marketing related or business related or both?
Yeah, I read a lot of books, and
They say
I know
leaders
it's a
are
good
readers,
one.
right? Leaders are readers.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I usually get through probably about 3 books a month on average, depending on the length of those. And I will tell you, those that I've consumed many times are probably the ones I should highlight here, because a lot of them are one and dones and kind
Hmm.
of move on and don't come back to that. Essentialism is one that felt very transformational for me. Prioritizing what matters most instead of trying to prioritize everything, which is, as an achiever and someone that likes to win, is something that I struggled with and came at a very high cost emotionally, um, in my relationships, for the business, for all of those things. And I think that was a transformational one. But I will tell you, the one that has been Practicing the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is one that has been very transformational for me as just as a person, and that has translated and shined in the business a lot more as well, where I really just encourages living more in the present moment and working through what's happening in the present moment, showing up to serve the present moment rather than living in the past or trying to anticipate the future nonstop as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's where a lot of the magic happens, is just right now. And so that's the book over the last year that's been, I've probably read it over 10 times,
Oh, wow.
actually.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I do Audible. I listen to a lot of books, just from, doing different things, and it's just everyone's different, right? They can consume it in different ways. And so I do similar things where I listen to a lot or podcasts a lot. And there are definitely ones that you come back to that you want to re-listen to parts of it again. And just and like all the Traction and EOS books too, I've come back to a few of those as well, just to like get it back ingrained in my brain and make sure we're doing what we want to do and practice EOS. As like you said, practice. It's not perfect, but for sure, for sure. Okay, so let's see. I love to ask this question. If you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't yet ask you?
That's a good question, Ray. Way to keep me on my toes.
And most people say that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's the question.
Okay.
But I almost don't want to ask it. What's the thing you feel like you should share that you're the most afraid to share today?
Oh, what's the thing you are most afraid to share that you should share today, Jay?
Hmm. Now, I didn't agree that I'd answer the question. I just told you this is the question I would ask myself.
Oh,
Okay.
tell me more. Tell me more. This is disruptive, right? You're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
So here's what I would actually say. That I would say to that. I'll answer the question. I'll play along. Where I've struggled the most this last year, as a human being, as a entrepreneur, as a professional, is the things that I thought I had overcome in my personal life, in my marriage, at work, and when the same things resurface, it is so easy to beat myself up about that and to feel a lot of like judgment and shame around. I thought I'd worked through that. I thought I'd resolve that. I thought that we worked through those hard things in our relationship at work and these types of things. I thought I wasn't making it all about me anymore, and then I find myself making it all about me again in some relationships and things like that going on. And that's been challenging. It's challenging to have those same things come back up when I thought I had worked through them and solved them, and then life gives me the opportunity to practice again. Um, and I will tell you, in transitioning out of the day to day business, what I didn't realize as well as I realize now is how much I've used business as a distraction to avoid working through some of those challenges and like keeping them more at bay rather than actually accepting them and working through those. And so, yeah, that's what's coming up. I realize that's a little bit generic, but I'm sure you and a lot of others can relate to that as well.
Yeah. No, I won't ask you to get specific, but I think I can understand for sure. And there's different things that happen, from when you first start the business and the way that leaders behave to where they transition and recognize and realize. And I certainly can relate to that. I mean, when I first started the business, I was young and I was female and I had a chip on my shoulder and I had something to prove and had to, make sure that everybody knew that I could do it. And now it's like, okay, well, I don't really care what people think as much as I did, when I first started, and I've proven now I don't have to sit there and try to prove that I know anything about marketing or anything like that. So I can absolutely relate how you change and work through the different personality traits that you may not always appreciate as much as you do others, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Well, I guess I could ask what was the characteristic that has served you well in your career, and you pretty much answered that one. But do you want to add any more to that?
I mean, I think the only thing I would add to that is contrast is what makes life beautiful. And just recognizing that it doesn't mean that challenges don't still feel hard, but it's always been worth it to just work through them. And I feel like I don't know, I just feel like that's the difference, is like just an uncanny desire to, you know what, this is hard and I'm going to do it anyway.
Right. Talk through it. And you say contrast. I love that because my husband and I run the business together, and we are kind of like yin and yang. almost to all points, right? I'm extrovert, he's introvert. I love to be around people. He gets drained by people, he can do it, but it's like so contrast is a good word. I like that a lot. Yeah. And having other people with other varying opinions and being able to look at things differently than what you would look at them is a good thing. Even though sometimes in the moment it seems awful.
It sure can't it? Yeah.
But it makes you better. It makes you better. Healthy conflict. That's what we call that. Good. Okay, so now that you're in this position, where do you see yourself in the next, 2 to 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to go from here?
Yeah. Well, I think big picture, I'll start, I've got 4 kids that are between 15 and 3.
Uh-huh.
And I'm excited to have some great adventures with them.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been exploring a lot more of the meditation side of things and been doing some fun activities and retreats with that. So I'm very excited about that part of my life. And then as far as the business is concerned, what I get very excited about is usually at this stage is when entrepreneurs sell their business or take a step back from the business. And I've chosen to take a step back from it because I like the community that gives me, the impact that we're having and the relationships that come with that. When I look down the road for Disruptive, we've actually limited the number of clients that we'll work with. In terms of, there's a cap, there's a finite number of clients that we'll work with. And there's some natural attrition, of course, that occurs. But we want our growth to be tied to the growth of our clients. And that feels so aligned. And we have to believe in the brands to want to work with them, to feel like we can help them grow so that we can grow as well. And I will tell you, for the first 8 years of the business, it was, hey, as long as you're not a bad fit, we'll take any business we can get. And the last couple of years, we've said we don't want to play that game anymore. We want to work with brands and people that we believe in, because that's what just makes coming to work fun every day. And so when I look at the next few years, it's just, I'll get to work with people and brands that I believe in, and together create an environment where we can both realize and live our potential and just enjoy a hell of a ride together through life.
I love that. We say fun, fame, or fortune. You get to pick two, right? If it's fun, maybe maybe you'll make some money at it. Fame, maybe it's not necessarily fortune, but it's like for a nonprofit and you get notoriety and, like publicity because you've surrounded a brand that you want to support. So that's the fame. And then of course, always we want to have fun, and fun is part of our overall core values. When we did the EOS system, we came up with, the number one thing is we want to have fun, right? And if you're not having fun, why do it, right? So I agree with that. I think that's a great place to be and continue to select who you want to work with. And you're right. When you first start, you kind of just take what you can get because you want to stay alive in business. But after you get to start kind of honing in on who you want to work with, because they've got great client worthiness, that we want to be a part of. That's great. So a couple more questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. But I'm curious, as somebody who's, now in the position that you're in, what kinds of types of clients do you want to work with specifically? Like, what are the kind of the criteria that you look for that would make your most ideal client? See, now I'm throwing it back at you. You do this for your clients, right? Who is it that you really truly believe in, that you want to work with, or that maybe you have that have been a good example? And you can just, if you don't want to name names, that's fine, but you can name kind of the industry or, specifics. But what is your most ideal client?
Yeah. We work with a pretty broad swath of clients, but if I were to just define a couple of attributes that we look for, is their past viability with their business. So they do have a good product market fit. Like, they've got a product or a service that is of value, and they've got a business that works. They just don't know how to grow it to the next level. And that, from a business cycle, usually means businesses between 3 to 50 million in annual revenue is kind of like our zone that we operate in. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're looking for more of a strategic marketing partner, not a button pusher that just does whatever you ask them to do. Right. They want a strategic marketing partner. They want to grow, but their goals are aligned with the impact that they want their products and services to have for their customers, for their employees, and that growth doesn't trump the impact and the value that they're adding through their products and services as well. Both matter. But they prioritize that. And we want to feel like it's going to be fun to work with them as well. So they want to grow. They've got a good product or service. We think they'd be fun to work with. And we believe we can be that strategic partner to help them double in size and feel very excited to do it. And that's when we're like, hell yeah, let's go. This will be fun.
And Jacob, are you a full service agency, or do you really specifically capitalize on kind of the lead gen side? Or maybe what is your sweet spot of services that you provide for your clients?
Yeah, we are not a full service agency, but we are a performance marketing agency. And so think of anything that's measurable and that we can hold accountable to a number is what we're doing. So we're not a branding agency, and we have supporting creative services, but I would not describe us as a branding or a creative agency. But what we are known for is we have managed billions of dollars in ad spend on Google, social platforms, Amazon, and we can back that up with good nurture programs through targeting, email, text, and just life cycle marketing services and making sure they convert on the website as well. So we're really more of that performance marketing partner aspect of the marketing, not as much the brand side.
Right. That's where they can come to us to do that.
Exactly.
We do video and creative services, and we also partner with other agencies who do things that we don't necessarily do as well. So that's the idea, is to collectively come together to look at our clients' best interest, no matter who our partners are, right? We want to make sure that they're going to be getting the results that they need, and that performance is going to produce the results. So yeah, definitely. So that's really a good description of what it is that you are looking for as far as the client goes, and who your ideal client is. Now I'm going to flip it, because you asked this of your clients. I want you to tell me a story about one of your employees and what you have done for them and why you do what you do because of them. What I did there? It's a
I
callback.
love that. I see what you did there, Ray. Yeah. Well, I don't want to overthink it. The first person that came to mind is our current head of people and culture, and actually just got promoted to a chief of staff role.
Oh, good.
And it has been so fun to see her from when she started as an account manager, coming in, figuring things out, was a single mom, and just trying to figure out life and work and all of the things. And it has been so fun to watch her progress to being on the executive team and thriving and making such a big impact, both for everyone at work, as well as in her personal life as well. And she just embodies our core values and what we're about. And like, she's the reason, and people, and I could give you countless examples like that, are the reason why I'm like, this is totally worth all the heartache that comes with running a business and owning a business, because I get inspired. It helps me to learn and grow when I see people doing that, and it's pretty special. So that's the first person that came to mind.
I love that you call her, that she's promoted to chief of staff, right? So she was HR director and then chief of staff. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a marketing account manager that very aligned with our core values, decided to make a career change. We took a chance on her and put her into a more HR role for her to do that. And then it progressed into what it is now. And so I just appreciate the courage to make a pivot, try something different, follow your heart, and watch what it turns into. Very inspirational.
Now, is your office, does everyone come to the office, or are you working like a hybrid, or are you remote, or what's the result of the pandemic for you in what work in the workspace now?
Yeah, our headquarters is in Utah, and we used to have everyone go into we had like 40,000 square feet of office space, and everyone was coming in. Since the pandemic, we've actually, we shrunk our office in half. We have a good headquarters that people can go to and use, but we used to only hire in Utah. For the last 3 years, we've been hiring throughout the country, and we're about 50-50 now. And so we have, anywhere from like a few to 20 people show up to the office on any given day, but mostly remote at this point.
Yeah, actually, kind of a hybrid. We have a couple people who come every day, and that's what they need, right? That's what they want. And then I have some, parents that work from home, or they'll come in once or twice a week, and then, just it's flexible, flex space now, really, So yeah, we're kind of going through that now. What do we want to do moving forward? Do we need as much space as we've had or not? And we have a studio too, so we're kind of going through that same, like, what's going to be work? What will work? What is work like coming to in the next future? But it's evolving, where people can now get people from all over the world even to work together. Yep, for sure. All right. Well, we can wrap up, but is there anything else that you would like to share? Maybe how people can get in touch with you, or how they can follow you and all that kind of good stuff too.
Yeah, you bet. I'm the most active on LinkedIn, and I always love to hear a good story of what got you from where you were to where you are today. And so if you'd like to connect on LinkedIn, hit me up there. That's where I'm the most active. You'll find me. There's a lot of A's in my last name, Jacob Baadsgaard. And then if you're looking for the right career move or for the right agency to partner with, if you kind of meet the criteria that I had described earlier, you should check us out at disruptiveadvertising.com. And one of the things that we love to do, whether we work with people or not, we actually usually turn away about 90% of the people that reach out to work with us because we don't see that we're going to be the best fit. But regardless of who we talk to, we always leave them with some value and direction that's supportive for their brand and where they're trying to go. So feel free to reach out. We'd love to connect. And
Excellent. Jacob, thank you so much. And I see in our near future us partnering together in some way or another, because we're in Idaho, I'm in Utah a lot. And my 17-year-old son just committed to go play D1 football at Southern Utah University. So I don't know where you are in Utah, but I'm sure we will be making the travels very often.
Well, next time you're down here, I'm in Provo is where I live.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
Next time you're down this way, shoot
Definitely.
me a message and let's grab lunch or something.
Let's do it. In pre-pandemic, I actually had a satellite office in West Jordan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So for a little while, then we, pandemic happened and we didn't really have a need to have an office there anymore, but I still have a few clients down there. So Utah is a great place to do business too. So we'll have to connect for sure.
Yeah. We do need to connect. It sounds like there's some good overlap between our approaches with the agency, and we ought to collaborate on that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, for those of you listening, thank you so much. And thank you, Jacob, for your time today. This was a great conversation. I hope our audience enjoys it just as much as I did. And I'm hoping you did too.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. For those of you listening, the best thing that you can do is share this with those that you know that could hear what Jacob had to say today. We talked a lot of good stuff today. So I'm sure that lots of people will share this. And of course, give us those reviews. Those are super helpful. If you do a review, screenshot it, send it to me, and I will do some shout outs, and we're posting them to social media. So you'll get some love too if you give us some love in a review. Hopefully it's all good reviews, right? Excellent. And until next time, everyone, enjoy your marketing journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.